How's it going, everybody? It is your host, Luna the Programmer, and in today's video, I thought that I'd tackle something that I noticed is, I guess you could say, resurfacing among the Dragon Ball community, right? So, this time, though, we are going to remain within the confines of the verse, so nothing cross-verse or anything like that. Um, Although I could make some videos on that. I do have one video, cross-verse video lined up, but that's for another day, right? This time in this video we're going to be focusing on Gogeta versus Vegito, and before you start hopping on me, I'm not going to be talking about Fusion Reborn versus Buu Saga, and I'm not going to be talking about, you know, Black Arc versus Broly movie, okay? Because that's just a waste of time. What I'm going to do is we take a hypothetical Goku from, I guess, after the Broly arc or after the Moral arc. It doesn't really matter which arc you take this Goku from, and you take Vegeta from that same point and you fuse them right then and there using the dance, and you fuse them right then and there using the earrings, and you get a Vegito and a Gogeta from that moment. Which one of them would be stronger and why, right? So I think the way I'm going to structure this is we're going to take a look at, the stuff for Vegito and then maybe the stuff for Gogeta. We'll see how it goes, right? So a bit of an introduction here. After the Metamorph fusion technique was revealed in the Buu saga, I think pretty much everyone, it's safe to say that pretty much everyone wanted to know what it would look like when their fan favorites Goku and Vegeta fuse. And of course, in Fusion Reborn, this wish was granted, right? In which, Super Gogeta just freaking annihilates Super Janemba. And I believe at this time, when the movie released, or around that time, the magazine known as V Jump, I'm sure you've all heard of it before, stated that Super Gogeta's power level was 2.5 billion. They had a couple of pages on estimated power levels, and that's the number that they came up with for Gogeta, or Super Gogeta, right? But of course, post Gotenks, but pre Gogeta, I think. I might have to look up the episode dates, but in this, I guess, short time period before Gogeta, but after Gotenks, you had a, Vegito come around, right? So, and this time, of course, we weren't fusing using the dance, but instead, this time the Potara earrings. So, when Vegito was born, in similar fashion, he utterly started destroying Buuhan, even in his base form, at least in the anime. In the manga, I believe he instantly transforms into a Super Saiyan. Buuhan himself at that point states that he was actually just playing around with Vegito and that he would get more serious, but I'm sure you guys remember that it should be noted that he doesn't really do anything against Vegito for their entire, almost, I think, 50-minute battle. That's 5-0, by the way, 50-minute battle. So it's very likely that he was either lying or bluffing. Um, Before facing off against Vegito, Buuhan states in both the manga and the anime that the power of fusion, well, actually, he uses the word merging, I believe, would not make a difference against him. And of course, the only fusion method that both we and the Buuhan knows at this time is of course the fusion dance. And since Buuhan had also Buuhan, I keep saying Buuhan, that Buuhan had also previously absorbed Buuhan, I think it's safe to say that he knows the effects of the fusion dance, and he has an idea of whatever its multiplier might be. And since obviously he can gauge the power of both Goku and Vegeta, you could make the argument that Buuhan was referring to a possible Buu arc Gogeta not being enough to face against him. If we really want to get into some wank, we could maybe say that not even a Super Saiyan 3 Gogeta would have been able to do anything against Buuhan. But again, that is a bit of wank. I think at the very least we'd be able to say that a base Gogeta in the Buu arc would not have been able to do anything, if that's fair. So it's revealed later that by the Elder Kai that the Potara earrings not only can be used to fuse, but they also yield an even greater result, even greater power rather, even greater power than the fusion dance. And of course, it does not require a dance to perform it. All you need to do is put on the earrings. It was also permanent, at least at that time. Of course, this was later changed for it to be only permanent towards the Supreme Kais. However, I do not believe there were any other statements concerning power that came out, or sorry, that was concerning power that would contradict what has been set forth thus far. In the Daizenshu 4, everyone's favorite Dragon Ball guide, or not specifically the Daizenshu 4, but the Daizenshu in general. But in the 4th edition of the Daizenshu, there is a scan that came out regarding the Potara, among a couple of other things on that page, that stated, I don't think this has been officially translated to English, so I'll have the Japanese and then I'll have the translation put up, one right after the other. So there's the page in the Daizenshu, and then the translation for the entry on the Potara earrings. It states that the effect is greater than fusion. Later on, this was doubled down in the Daizenshu 7, where they have a similar page or a similar entry talking about the power of Potara, which again says that the Potara earrings yield greater power than what you can get with the fusion dance, right? So upon his second appearance in the Black Arc, Vegito stood equal to even the likes of Merge Zamasu, whose power kept increasing pretty rapidly when you think about it. He actually went from, Merge Zamasu, went from being damaged by Goku alone to, of course, clashing evenly, and at one point even getting the upper hand against Vegito, until, of course, Vegito defused, which is actually a pretty beastly feat for both Goku and Zamasu, by the way, but I digress, right? So, skipping ahead once again, you get to the Broly movie, and this time they bring the fusion events back. This time, Gogeta is being canonized. I don't know the word that you would use for that. But this time he was able to fend off Broly with the power of course, Super Saiyan Blue. Broly did put up a pretty great fight as a side note, but towards the end, it didn't end so well for him. At this point, V-Jump Magazine released a statement in which they described both Gogeta and Vegito as equal trump cards. However, even with this information, Vegito is still the superior fusion, and the thing is that fans seem to take the V-Jump statement, meaning that Gogeta and Vegito possess equal power, even though they only say equally matched as trump cards, which you can easily argue means utility. Um, the same V-Jump magazine that brought out this Gogeta statement now is, again, if you remember, the same V-Jump magazine that had Super Gogeta's power level as 2.5 billion. Now, why is that relevant? Because there is also a scan from the same magazine listing Final Form Cooler's power level as 470 million, which means that according to them, Final Form Cooler is only 50 times weaker than Super Saiyan Gogeta or Super Gogeta, which seems a little bit ridiculous if you think about it, considering that Final Form Cooler is just after I believe a little bit after the Namek saga. Um, Whereas the Fusion Reborn movie takes place, I believe, after the Buu saga, seeing as Goku has Super Saiyan 3 and Vegeta is dead, right? So for them to only be a 50 times difference, or a little more than 50 times difference between the power of Gogeta and the power of Final Form Cooler is a little weird, right? A little weird. Again, I want to elaborate that the V-Jump statement only say that they are equal in terms of trump cards, which not necessarily means that their power, and of course refers to just utility when you think about attempting to dance in the middle of combat versus just trying to put on some earrings, or maybe even it refers to time limit, since of course the Potara time limit did get changed. We do not really know if it was for sure referring to power, it seems more consistent with the narrative that it would be referring to utility instead. Since there is no way to reasonably prove that the statement was in fact referring to equal power, and you combine that with the fact that this very same magazine has pretty much proven themselves to be unreliable in terms of scaling at least Gogeta, because again, they had Gogeta at only 50 or so times stronger than Final Form Cooler. Again, 2.5 billion versus 470 million. I would say that you can safely discard the Vegim statement as being factual, and instead regard it as incorrect, or try to interpret it a different way other than power. You'd think that if Gogeta was stronger, or maybe he was actually equal, that he'd actually have been used in the Black Arc, because if I remember correctly, there were actual several minutes of downtime that they had before fusing into Vegito, and it's not like you can really say, well, Vegeta, the earrings, putting on the earrings would actually be less embarrassing for him, so of course he would want to do that over dancing. But a couple arcs later in the Broly movie, he's shown to still be willing to fuse if there is like a legitimate threat that neither of them can take down. And not to discredit Vegeta, but I don't think he's gotten. I mean, he did get development in the Tournament of Power, but I don't think he's gotten development so much so to the point where, his outlook on fusion would change that much, if you understand what I'm saying. Um, so if you actually do watch the Broly movie, the scene where um Goku's like, we gotta do the fusion dance to Vegeta, do you know what it is? You'll actually see that his statement refers to, or arguably refers to, the fusion dance being his second option rather than his first one, because he notes that they don't actually have any Potara earrings. So of course, now that the fusion dance is the only choice that they have left in order to try and maybe defeat Broly. Um, of course, you can try and argue that he was only referring to the earrings being easier as a method to fuse as opposed to a dance, but if you consider the earlier statements about Vegito's power, and also think about how even after failing to fuse several times, they still don't have any, you know, indication that, hey, maybe we should go get the Potara earrings, really just seems to solidify that Goku initially did want the Potara earrings, but he didn't think that it was possible to get them, or he didn't know a place that they could get them. So that's why that they didn't do that. Although, of course, side note here, that you could argue that is a bit of a plot hole, seeing as Goku should probably know where the Supreme Kai's planet are, but we'll chalk it up to every time that they had to Potara fuse, the earrings were literally handed to them. So maybe that's why they decided to waste an hour letting Frieza get beat down for that. But anyways, if you consider the earlier statements, it's possible that Goku was referring to not only the Potara dance, sorry, the Potara fusion being more convenient than the fusion dance, but also referring to power when he again says that since the earrings are a no-go, that they'll have to use the dance instead. Um, Really quick before I close out this video, there is one other statement for Gogeta. Like the Broly one is the main one, but there is one other one that is significantly older that concerns, well, at least it has a picture. I put it up on screen of Super Gogeta and Super Vegito. The actual picture isn't really relevant. What's relevant is the translation, in which it says that the fusion has a better balance and is able to draw out their power to the max. Therefore, if it is a short battle of 30 minutes or less, then Gogeta should win, while if it is a long battle, then Vegito should win. So this again, it seems to suggest that the if the battle is 30 minutes or less, then Gogeta would win because it's quote has better balance and it has able to draw out their power to the max. While if it is a long battle, then Vegito should win, which seems to imply that Vegito would only win in a battle if Gogeta defuses, right? Um, but this doesn't make sense within the context of everything else because the fact that they have a picture of Super Gogeta here means that this at the very least came out after Fusion Reborn, and this is pre Dragon Ball Super before we found out that the dances, the earrings rather, are actually not permanent. Yet we still have the statement of multiple statements, in fact, of the Potara yielding a greater result. So this is inconsistent with the narrative and is really the only statement saying that Gogeta would actually win in a battle. And you think about it, very few battles in Dragon Ball period take place across 30 entire minutes, at least from late Z onward, right? Maybe in the original days it did, but very few battles actually take place for more than 30 minutes. So it seems to be a bit biased against Vegito from at least a power scaling perspective. And again, even if you don't say it's biased, it is just inconsistent, seeing as this is, I believe, the only statement out there that's even suggests that Gogeta would win. Every other statement says Vegito wins, with the one exception of the Broly movie scan saying that they are equal. So, yeah, this is actually on the other spectrum from even the Broly statement. So, just wanted to get that out of the way really quickly. So, basically to just conclude here, again, the VGEM statement, the newer VGEM statement, I should say, the Broly movie one, is pretty much the only thing like I said, that the Gogeta fans use. I haven't really seen them use the one that I just said, about the short battle versus long battle. I haven't really seen that because they seem to now at least take the VGM statement as truth. So that's pretty much the only thing that they have to try to say, that they are equal in power. But of course, that doesn't really stand up because it is inconsistent again with the narrative. And of course, V Jump is not exactly the most reliable when it comes to power scaling, as it is simply a promotional magazine. And you can argue that they were only trying to make this statement in order to hype up the movie, because imagine they did not make this statement and then they see Gogeta versus Broly. I can already tell that some people would be thinking, well, if they had fused into Vegito, then they probably would have beaten him in base, or some nonsense like that. So, you know, going with that line of logic, that bit is headcanon, right? I will admit that this right here, what I'm about to say, is headcanon, but I think that the reason that they said that is simply because to basically shut up all the Vegito fanboys that would be trying to downplay Gogeta from that movie. So they decided, okay, screw it. Let's just say they're equal so that everyone is happy, right? But again, does that match up? Is not consistent. So that's gonna pretty much conclude it for this recording session. Almost 20 minutes on the clock as I'm recording this. It is almost 5. Actually, it is past 5 in the morning at the time I am recording this. So I'm going to save this and throw it in probably the void just for a minute so that I can, take a breather. This is actually the second time that I've recorded this. I don't know if I said this, but this is the second time that I recorded this because I wanted to address a couple of other things that I did not address in my first recording. So rather than editing all of that bit together, I decided to just go fresh with a new one. So that's going to do it for us this time around. Another power scaling video. I hope you liked the last one because I know I did. I enjoyed making it. Um, if you liked the video or you learned something new, please be sure to subscribe, leave a like. If you didn't enjoy the video or you didn't learn anything, you have to leave a dislike, so that lets me know how to improve on my content. My name is Luna, also known as Luna the Programmer. and I will catch you guys next time. I have a couple more ideas on the table that I'll probably write scripts for. This video was mostly scripted. I did go, off script for a little bit, but the majority of it was scripted, at least the general ideas. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Nomad Beats.